Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. The universities used to be a great place to go and discuss and have ideas, but now they've done the 180, and it happened so fast, it made our heads spin, where now you're not allowed to question anything anymore. And they're specifically using science as a club to kind of bully us into submission to do whatever it is they want us to do. And it happens in many ways. We're going to go through each one of these actually pretty quick. Overly technical, that's where someone's talking to you and they're getting so deep and so technical, you don't even quite understand what they're saying. Well, how can you possibly respond when it's so technical you don't really even understand it? So that's one way that they'll do that. Another one is called elephant hurling.
I want to know what that is.
Yeah, that sounds kind of fun. Evolution's a fact. It's been proven by evidence from every area of science. All scientists believe it. These large, vacuous statements that are not backed up by any specifics. It's called elephant hurling. You're just throwing these large elephants out there without specifics to discuss. Appeal to authority. Well, this concept is right because these guys are leading authorities. Well, you know what? They might be world's leading authorities, but that doesn't mean that everything they say is true. So that's appeal to authority. Shaming. If you don't believe what we're saying, you obviously reject science, you're a science denier, and you apparently don't care that people are dying.
Yeah.
A lot of shame, that gets people into submissions, like, oh, no, I don't want people to die. What is it you want me to do?
I like it when they throw the flat earther comment on you. Well, you're just a flat earther if you don't believe what I'm saying.
They tie us into that very, very often. Eliminate discussion. We've already mentioned that. The cancel culture, time for discussion is over. The debate, no more. We've already done all the hard work. You need to just do what we're telling you to do now. Consensus science. Well, this concept is true because most scientists believe it. 89%, 95%, whatever they throw out, it must be true. Well, even secular scientists hate this concept of consensus science. Truth is not determined by vote or consensus. Often it only takes one fact or one person bucking the system to overturn something that we've taught for years and years and years. So
sure, we only have to think of Copernicus or Galileo and
exactly
how everybody, and of course it was the scientists who were opposed to them and were attacking them until eventually the evidence was just overwhelming.
That's a perfect example of the whole concept of consensus science. Academic censorship. Well, we won't publish your articles because you're not real scientists. Oh, why are we not real scientists? Because you don't publish in our journals. Why can't we publish in your journals? Because you're not real scientists, and round and round. And that actually happens. They just censor, so many creationists have a hard time getting their things published just because of their belief system, not because of the academic work in the paper. It's just like, we won't publish yours because you're a creationist. So that's academic censorship. Then the doggy head tilt. So it's kind of a fun one where somebody says something, it just kind of makes your head tilt. And so take a look at that. This is my daughter's dog, Cooper. Yes, he's cute, and yes, he knows it. But here's an idea or example of the doggy head tilt. They'll say that creation theory is not science because it's not testable. And then they'll turn around and say, we've tested creation theory and proven it to be false. You can't have it both ways. Either it's not testable, then you didn't test it to prove it false, or you tested it, which means it's actually science, but you can't have it both ways. That's one of those things that makes you tilt your head just a little bit. And then lastly, this one's very powerful, misleading headlines. This happens very often. Let's say you see a headline in an article or online that says, recent discovery proves Darwinian ape-to-man evolution. So nice captive headline, like, wow, you got more evidence. The vast majority of people won't even read the article. They'll see the headline. They'll say, more evidence for evolution. When are those Christians going to give up their crazy beliefs in the Bible? Some people will start reading the article, and it'll start out by saying, in 1824, so-and-so, whatever, and they're like, I don't have time for this. I want to know what they just found last week, but I don't have time, so they don't read it. Others will read all the way through casually and just move on. A very small percentage will read all the way through the article, and they get to the end and they say, wait a minute, there's nothing in the article that backs up the headline. In fact, at the end, they said many scientists remain skeptical, but that's maybe 0.5% of the population. The damage has been done. The headline was out there. That's all they needed. It didn't matter what the content of the article was.
You know, and that's another example of, as you showed earlier, money driving this, because if I'm a reporter, the more headlines I get, the more clicks on my headline, rather, that I get, more viewers, more readers, Why? The more money I get, the more, and so that, you know, the sensationalizing to just make money. Sometimes I don't think it's necessarily, well, they want to, or they believe it. It's just, what's the most provocative thing I can say to get more readers?